Where you been? Where you been all my life? Baby, it's a sin. The way you looking at life. It's obvious that I want something from you. You know what I wanna do. If it's ours, it would bring me to life. I could only imagine what it'd be like. Oh, every time.
Wow. So, hey, folks, thank you for joining this evening. We already got TL in the house, guys. So we got people already watching, which is always cool. So thank you so much, first of all. If this is your first time following with the show, appreciate you so much, everybody who comes along and is part of the community and part of the chat. So you guys rock. So let's get all the particular information like we usually do out of the way first. So if this is your first time following us, we are streaming live on Twitch, and you can check us out on our Twitch channel. There is the web address down below, www.twitch.tv/MFSB Live. If you're checking us out on Twitch, thank you so much. Please follow along. We are always trying to build our viewership there on Twitch. So thank you guys so much if you're checking us out. And of course, we are streaming live across multiple platforms. So if you're not watching there on Twitch, you can check us out on our YouTube channel. And there is, well, let me take that comment down real quick so you can kind of see. There it is. So you can check us out on YouTube at www.youtube.com/C/made from scratch broadcast. Yes, sir. So LinkedIn is getting glitchy. It is. And if you having problems watching on LinkedIn, that's why we've got multiple platforms here. So you can go to YouTube, you can watch it live there as well. We are streaming live as well on our Facebook page, there at MFSB Live on Facebook as well. So if you're having problems with LinkedIn, please, there's other platforms you can check us out on. They all stream the same. LinkedIn's been having a couple issues, but that's okay. And I just wanted to start by saying, take the opportunity to go over to Twitch. Check it out if you're not used to it. It is something that's fun. So, and again, it's one of the cool things about being able to multi-stream is that you can have multiple places where people can go catch your content. So why not? I mean, it's a wonderful way to sit there and make what you do as a live streamer more accessible to everybody. So that's what I really like to concentrate on sometimes, because some people, they just love watching it on certain platforms. Some people don't even have LinkedIn. So, but speaking of LinkedIn, since we're streaming and we're talking about our favorite platform, if you're checking us out on LinkedIn, guys, thank you so much as well. Drop it down in the comments. Let me know where you're watching us from. So, some people are away on holiday. That's okay. That's cool. We can always take it that way. So, but tonight I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about our guest. He's actually he has his own live stream show as well, which is what he usually does. And one of the cool things about him is that you're gonna realize it if you've not connected with this evening's guest. He is actually from across the pond, guys. So we always love learning about people from across the pond, and you'll hear it in his accent. So it's one of the cool things about hearing him talk. So I guess without any further ado, guys, let's help me welcome to the show this evening's guest. And let me pull up real quick before I do that. Make sure I got everything on fire. Here we go. Close. Okay. Help me welcome to the show, Mr. Bruce Carnohan. How are you, sir?
Hey, Gabriel. We made it, my friend.
We made it. We are here. We are live. So if Bruce looks like he's held up somewhere, it is because he's actually being held up in his car. which is where I guess they're having issues with the weather out where he's at. So where are you exactly located? And let's switch places. So you can be Bruce and I can
Sure.
be me.
So I'm 50 miles north of Los Angeles, and I'm in the canyons, a city called Canyon Country. And when the wind blows, our power lines get shut down because we got sued last December time for starting some major fires. So now they don't take any risks; they just drop the power. So I fortunately found a drive-through Starbucks that lets me hook into their internet, and I have a power pack in my car. So I am doing the resilient thing, didn't want to let anyone down, and just doing what I can from my car.
There you go. Hey, it works all the same, right? I mean, as long as you can connect and still get on here and have a conversation, I'm all for that. So, and for those who haven't noticed, he does have a little bit of an accent.
Yep, little.
So a little bit. So let's talk about that as well. Kind of your journey that's kind of led you here to
Sure.
LA. Um, Kind of walk us a little bit about how you actually came over here to the States and what was what was the driving force for you that made you make that decision? Because that's a long way from home.
Yeah, it is. So I worked in England following my career for my first 39 years of my job and career aspirations. And I started to work for a company that was based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but in their European operations. And fast forward a couple of years after getting some success with them, one of the divisional presidents, who was based in St. Louis, Missouri, basically said, "Hey, why don't you come to St. Louis and do a project for us?" And that project turned into a little mini assessment, and that mini assessment was successful. And at the end of my time with them in St. Louis, I was literally about to go to the airport in the car, and the president of the division said, "Hey, how would you like to come work for us?" And I just said, "Well, I have an open mind about that. Let me think about it." And I literally got on a plane, and 4 months later, I had packed everything into boxes, and it went on a boat. And I got on another plane and came back to St. Louis, Missouri, and that was back in 1994. So
Mm,
I'm 26 in American and pretty old overall. So
there you go. So let me ask you. I mean, you might. This is asking to go back a little while, but
sure.
what were did you know very noticeable differences about the culture when you came over here and
Uh, yeah.
from being from being over there in the UK and coming over here? It's kind of sometimes a little bit of a culture shock. So
Huge, yeah. So people say, "Well, it'll be okay, Bruce. They speak English," but well, they don't speak English. This is American English. So, so my first moment in the U.S. is I arrived on Sunday night, and the guy that was supposed to pick me up at St. Louis Airport didn't show up, and I
oh,
had no American dollars. So my first conversation was, when I got my bag, the lady said, "Well, go through them sliding doors, out to the sidewalk, over to the median, and go get a cab." And that absolutely didn't mean anything to me, because in English that would have been, go through the sliding doors, go down the pavement, go to the verge, and get a taxi. So so it was all the same message, but completely different words. So yeah, it took me about 2 years to adjust my sentencing and not being sarcastic, which was another big no-no here in the U.S. So
right, figuring out the whole uh, the whole culture thing, and
yeah,
because it's interesting whenever I have these conversations with people who come here and are learning how to quote unquote be Americans for the first time. Um,
Yep.
you
Oh,
know,
it's very different. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of that. That's kind of where I find a lot of interesting things because, like you said, there's even though we're supposed to be speaking English, it is
Mm-hmm.
a different English. It is a different type. It is a different understanding, and even some of the way uh, connotation and words actually mean. So
Mm-hmm.
now that you've been here for a long time, have you? Let me ask you this: have you gone back?
Yeah. So I have, and to be brutally honest, it actually drives me crazy when I go back. I last about 9 or 10 days because one of the things that we're spoiled with here is the service and the open amenities that we have. So when I go back, it's like, nobody wants to take care of you and nobody cares about you as a customer. And the amenities, one of the places I go to see one of my sisters, they still close on a Monday afternoon and all day Wednesday. So, I mean, and Sundays, there's not a lot of accessibility like we have here. So we get totally spoiled by that luxury of all the customer service and the accessibility that we have here.
Mm, that is, and that's again what's very funny whenever I learn about somebody else's culture. Because here's the thing. I mean, and this is an American thing, but we do look at our culture and we think, God, you guys are so wrong, right?
No.
And not to say that it's not all and it's not all bad, but there are certain things that we are very brash as Americans.
Sure.
Uh, but again, it's you don't realize those differences until you've actually gone outside of out of these borders here, and you go and you find culture and you start interacting with different people in different parts of the world because it's more over there in Great Britain. It's more of a melting pot of, isn't it, of people that are
Mm-hmm.
countries that are so much closer. France, uh, Scotland. I mean, just all the ones that border kind of the United Kingdom. Is that there's so many close countries close by where people can.
Yeah.
It's not just such a thing. It's not just such a thing where somebody can cross over. Like here, it's very difficult to cross certain borders if you're not in a certain region, right? But
Yeah.
it's a little bit different when you're over there. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about let's talk about a little bit about the driving force of why you made the big jump to come here to the United States and taking on that
Right.
project. Was there something inside of you that said you wanted to just do something different, or was it just you were ready to make um, a big kind of decision again? Like I said, in your life, it's
Mm-hmm.
not the easiest thing to say. Taking a job from one city to the next is one thing. Taking a job or a project from a whole other country
Mm-hmm.
is a pretty big leap. So,
Yep.
what was that like for you?
So that's a great question. I did, well, a couple of days after I arrived, I did sit down and I did ask myself, "What the heck have you done, Bruce?" But that kind of soon passed. The driving force was really interesting, and this isn't meant to sound braggadocious, but I had gone through a rapid career transition. So I had a pretty senior job role in a small city in a relatively small division of our American company. And when I started to work with my colleagues on the American side of our business, I realized there was so much more to learn and so much more that I could potentially offer. So when they said, "Hey, how do you feel like coming to work for us?" And the other thing I was able to do is I was able to bring some of my prior success to a gap that they had there in the St. Louis operation. So it was kind of a little gutsy, but it was also I felt like I had something of value to offer, and I felt that they had something of value to offer me. because part of my negotiations was to get me an unlimited working permit here in the USA. And I knew that that was going to be a really important thing to advance my global understanding and my ability to move around globally if I wanted to. So it was complicated, but it was, I guess, a little braggadocious and a little adventuresome, and also I felt passionate about the value that I could bring and help people with, and that's kind of what's in my core always, is the value to drive and help people.
Yeah, and that's cool that that was one of the things that, um, when you make a kind of big decision like that,
Mm-hmm.
is there's a lot of things that you really have to you know take in account, and it's very well that you were kind of very confident in that, saying, what, this is what I'm ready to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So that's
Mm-hmm.
I do love that about your decision to come over here now. Another thing that I really um, like to talk to you about, want to know a little bit more about as well, is well, two things. We'll start first with what was behind the idea of the whole branding of the guy in the blue shirt. That's pretty unique. That's unique to you, and I love talking about uniqueness. So let's go a
Yes.
little bit into that, because that's a very, very good way to kind of separate yourself from a
All
lot of
right.
other people.
Sure. Well, I'll talk about the word blue first. In 2006, I was living in Dallas, Texas, and I was at a point where I was both broken, and a lady I met by chance said, "Hey, have you ever been to a networking meeting?" And I said, "What's one of those?" That's how naive I was. And she said, "Okay, well, there's a luncheon tomorrow. I'm going to come pick you up." And she said, "Wear a blue shirt." So her name is 𝙤𝙠𝙚 𝙬𝙧, and 𝙤𝙠𝙚 came and picked me up and took me to the luncheon, and basically sat me at a table and walked away and left me to it. So on the ride back home to my apartment, I said to her, "Hey, 𝙤𝙠𝙠, why did you make me wear blue?" And she said, "Well, in Dallas, it's a very professional, calming color. And secondly, it makes your eyes show up and people will trust you more." So it's like, oh, okay. So the blue became kind of a brand color for me, which makes me feel confident as well. And then fast forward to last fall in Los Angeles, I was attending LinkedIn locals that were being run by some splendid people down in Los Angeles. And I met a lady called Gracie Ruth Melendez,
Hmm.
and a lot of people couldn't ever remember my last name, sometimes not my first. And after a couple of meetings, I heard her say to somebody who had a question, "Oh, just go ask that guy in the blue shirt because I have my signature blue on." And then about a month later, Gracie had spun off and set up her own LinkedIn local in Pasadena, California. And I went to help her out, and I sponsored the little buffet. And again, she couldn't remember my last name. She said, "Oh, Bruce, no, the guy in the blue shirt sponsored the buffet. Come say a few words." So after hearing it twice like that, and everybody kind of smiled, and it, you know, was humorous in a way, I thought, you know what, I'll just add it to my LinkedIn profile, see what happens. And the result was outstanding. I mean, most people just love it. I get some weirdos that kind of say, "Yeah, what are you trying to be, Blue Man Group and all that?" But I just ignore them.
Oh,
So
so
the yeah, the guy in the blue shirt was born in 2006, and here we are 14 years later, and he's going strong.
there you go, man. So that love that. This is pretty. That's again. I love people who pick a thing that is unique to them, and
Mm-hmm.
they just go with it. I mean, that's like I said, and that's here's the wonderful part too. Even like you said, if somebody may not remember your name,
Mm-hmm.
but they usually do remember the guy in the blue shirt.
Right. Well, the
So,
other thing that's really interesting, Gabe, if I can rest in this space a little bit is that, you know, there's a lot of talk about branding and personal branding, but what people don't realize is it takes time and it takes a lot of iterations. So like my journey to the guy in the blue shirt didn't happen in one jump. It was a lot of little baby steps and a lot of little trial and error and a lot of networking meetings, both in person and virtually. And so, people get confused about branding, that it's kind of wave a magic wand and it gets done. It doesn't always happen that way. So it takes work.
Takes work, right? It takes a little bit. Takes a little bit of. It takes a little bit of drive to make that happen, man. I like that. So, um, let's talk about the next step, which was, I guess, the next evolution of you. So, you actually started doing live video.
I
So,
did.
what was the thing for you that got you started
Okay.
doing that? Because I always love to hear other people's tales about how they got themselves into behind a video camera and started just talking and pretty much creating content and creating a way to kind of
Right.
build a community and a platform. So what was that for you?
So that for me was a literally chance meeting with Brian Schulman at LinkedIn Local Los Angeles, and I know you know Brian Schulman.
Oh yes, very
And
well.
I met Brian because I went to see Diana Nguyen, who was the guest speaker at LinkedIn Local LA. And Brian was actually doing a all-night LinkedIn live stream as a beta tester. So those people that know Brian know that part of his hashtag voice your vibe is he says, and this is LinkedIn video.
Yes.
So I happened to literally kind of walk into him and he turned the camera on me and he said, "Oh, Bruce, why don't you say something to this is LinkedIn video?" And I just froze up. It's like, man, I don't want to talk on video. What are you talking about, Brian? He said, "Go on, just do it." So I think I lasted about 20 seconds before I dried up, and then fast forward several months after I started being a LinkedIn local in-person leader myself. I was asking people like Brian and Patrick Ward and others that were on the beta test, well, how do you get this LinkedIn Live thing? And they guided me in terms of how I should market myself, because at one time you could market why you should be granted the opportunity to be a host, and that's what I did. So to my surprise, I got it. I wasn't expecting it, and then when I got it, I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do with this now? Because I'm not trained in this stuff. I don't know how to do it, and so I just jumped in and started learning the process because I'm a process guy.
Well, you know what? I got to say that's it takes a little bit of guts to have to try to put this thing, because for some people it can be pretty intimidating.
It is. I was sharing with you, my 27th one was with Nancy Barrows this past Monday, and it's still intimidating. I still honk it up, and I still learn. If you learn something every time and you try and get better at it, I think that's the real essence of what live streaming will do for you. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of Miss Gracie Ruth Melendez, she's actually here.
Oh,
She,
cool. Hey,
so
Gracie.
she's saying hello. She's saying you're in your car. Yes, she's.
Yes,
Easy,
well,
easy.
she knows every time I have a power shutdown, because actually Gracie has messaged people for me before on my behalf when I've gotten stuck, like in the past couple of weeks. So she's been a huge help to me. And it just shows the power of the LinkedIn local leadership. Everyone is so community based and helpful based that, when I got stuck, she's helped me out so many times. It's unbelievable.
So, and let me, and okay. That's another thing, right? Because I got on the LinkedIn bandwagon
Mm-hmm.
a little too late along for the journey to actually get involved in any of the like LinkedIn locals,
Uh-huh.
which I would have loved to attend. So I've primarily just built my community and the people that I've connected with totally online.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had the opportunity, except for once, to meet a few people who I connected with on LinkedIn, and it was right before the whole COVID sort of thing
Right.
just spun out of control. So, and that's where what are those experiences kind of like for you? Because being there and actually taking the online offline and having
Yeah.
real life conversations with people, because that's, for me, it's pretty fascinating, and I kind of am salivating at the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity when things open up again and we can go and meet people in person, because I have a whole list of people that I want to go meet.
Yeah.
So
I I agree with you. So the feeling is amazing. So I'll go back to the story about 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧. So I got there early and I'd been watching and following and engaging with 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙧's content, and she's Dancing Diana or Joyful or a couple of her hashtags. And what was also interesting is she started to embrace her snorting. So when she laughs a lot, she snorts really hard. And what
yes.
was really interesting is I went into the room and it was early and I was just wandering around and I heard Diana snorting in the corner before I even saw her, and so I knew where she was. So I walked up and I said, "Hey," and she was just so identical to being online. It was like, so that's the really good thing, and I've actually found that with people is that the people I've linked off with in person, they are so easy to get along with because it's almost like you already know them and you already know what some of their things are and their little idiosyncrasies, and so it's kind of like meeting up with a long lost friend even though it's for the first time. It's an amazing feeling.
Mm, wow. So yeah, that's, again, that's really cool that you've actually got to meet some of these people, because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I've had to actually build my network in my community, and believe me, I have tons of offline conversations, but
Right.
um, I'm somebody who always also likes to feel the kinetic part of connection with somebody,
Yeah,
right?
you bet. The energy is but what was really cool, and again, Brian is the same, and in fact all the people that I know in person or that I've had time to spend time with in person that I know through LinkedIn, they're identical offline and online, and that, people talk about authenticity. I mean, to me the measure of authenticity is when you can meet somebody without seeing them just by the way they sound in a corner, right? So it's a great testament to the magnificent people that are here on LinkedIn.
So Miss Jeanette Caloroso says, "Is that how you
Ah.
felt when you met me, Bruce?"
Oh, Junette. She is well, she's a sister from a different mister. I met her through Tisha Maria Pelletier, and I just love her energy. She is like, I cannot wait to actually meet her in person because there's a bunch of people here in California that I've met only virtually. So we've promised that in 2021 we will find a way to meet in person. So Jeanette's one of those, Tisha's one, Stephen Liu, Maria Russo, Nancy Barrows, Brian Schulman again, of course. So and then all the LinkedIn local leaders. I want to meet all of those guys and gals again.
Yes, and that's where, um, I believe that a lot of those people who've uh, made those in-person connections,
Mm-hmm.
they're very lucky. Um, Because I wait for my opportunity to do that because I really, again, I really find talking to somebody face to face very fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
more than doing it on camera. Um,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know, camera is the next step up from a phone call, but I think being face to face is like the ultimate. You get to actually see. There's no other perception about it because you can look at a camera and say, okay, well, there's a
Mm-hmm.
filter in front of us. There's something there. When you're meeting somebody face to face, it is in your face right there, 3D. You're actually taking in the essence of somebody. So that's where I hopefully get that opportunity as well. So I want to ask you a few questions about some of the things that you've been doing as well. Not only are
Sure.
you creating content for on the platform here on LinkedIn, but you're also, I mean, you do have a everyday job as well. So how have you found that kind of
Mm-hmm.
balance in kind of doing both? Because it's again, it's an interesting question to ask because I kind of equate it to my life. I have to do the same thing with me doing this and still
Mm-hmm.
operating and holding a regular job. So how has that been for you? And have you noticed, has anybody ever seen you on your lives or anything that you might have worked with or something and they go, hey, I, because there is a weird sort of feel about it. I've had a few people at my own job go, hey, Mr. Celebrity, you know, go, I don't know about that,
Right.
but, you know,
Well, the
have you had that yet?
yeah. So the how I do it is segmentation, and I purposely keep. It's like having two houses. I keep, the operation of one house in one separate segment of my life, and then the operation of my LinkedIn content, process improvement, mentoring, and coaching as a separate thing. However, the people that have kind of wandered over and obviously watched some of my content, then uh, they pretty much say to me, "Well, how's the guy in the blue shirt going, or going, or doing, or how's the guy in the blue shirt today?" So kind of that's how I know they've kind of been watching and lurking and observing, and but I purposely keep the two things separate, and right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the way I've decided to do it. There are some complicated reasons for that, based on actually my employer's viewpoint about some things. But again, I'm determined to do what I wanted to do, which is to spread all of the knowledge I have to people especially people that are younger than me.
Mhm.
And I felt very passionate about that, and I didn't have the opportunity to always do that in my regular job. So that was very important to me. So that's the way I've decided to deal with it. So.
Hmm. And I find that very interesting because um, I think there is in some employment, you know, in some employers, there is a fine line to walk when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
something like this. And um, again, I know because I've been on the other side of being
Mm-hmm.
approached about it
Right.
because you know somebody who for somehow unknown reason they find out about what I've been doing and they come back and they'll ask you and they'll ask questions and then you know I answer them to the best of my ability. But I'm like you,
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep both um, separate. You know, so I mean those who do know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hide it from them anymore. And not that I ever hid it. I just never like said announced it and be like, hey, by the way, hey, I'm doing all this social media stuff, guys. It's just somebody stumbled upon it and they told somebody else about it, which is okay. I figured that would happen at some point.
Right.
So when it finally showed up on the doorstep, I was like, okay, I've just prepared
Right.
for it. But I'm like you, I don't announce it. I don't sit there and walk around and go, hey guys, have you checked out my show lately? I don't. That's just not who I am as a person. I'm just like, if they watch, they watch.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
I'm about letting the results and the activity speak for themselves rather than drawing attention to it. So So
Well,
that again, that's my way of handling it and dealing with it. But the real deal though is I didn't feel, back to that authentic word, I didn't feel authentic by not allowing my passion to be shared with other people. And that's why, outside of my other work, I work very hard and long hours at the mentoring and the coaching and the implementation on the process improvement side that I do outside of my job, as it were. So,
and hey, I gotta say that's you know that's that says a lot, and I kind of like you. I mean, the whatever happens, the results will speak for itself, and that's what I just know that
mm-hmm,
people who do know me in real life, and what I mean by that is that, somebody that I might work with, they see that and they go, you're just you like you are now.
mm-hmm,
You're the same person. So um, there's no like transitioning of how I have to be there and then how I have to be in my own skin, in my own life. I mean, I don't have to change nothing because people can watch and go, what I say, what I do, what I live, and how I act are um, all aligned with how I conduct myself every single day, whether I'm in front of a camera or not.
yeah.
So,
Well, and I think the other thing on that is when you're not in alignment, even though being in alignment, driving your passion is hard work, when you're out of alignment, it's even harder work. And I find that I get personally exhausted much quicker than I do when I'm actually in alignment and driving with my passion. So it's kind of unhealthy when you do that. So, if it's any help to other people, if you feel that you're out of alignment with your passion, then you're probably not doing yourself a favor long term. And that's not to be critical, it's just to share my own experience that it's way harder work when you're out of alignment than when you are going with the flow, as it were, or flowing and going all in one stride.
no, exactly, 100%. I totally, um, and again, that's where where when I have the opportunity to talk to other people who go and create video content and
Mm-hmm.
are actually putting themselves out there, and that's not the main focus of what their employment is or their career is. Their career is something else, but they're still out there creating video. So it always interests me asking somebody else's opinions, because there's some people that's all they do. So it's not going to be
Right.
the same. It's not going to be the same when I ask them about it. It's like, well, I'm
Sure.
a social media marketer. This is what I do. I talk about this sort of thing. I,
Yeah.
I I'm not. To me, I'm just a guy with the live stream who has the opportunity to go talk to people every single night. So I have a different approach.
Right. Well, the other thing that shocks most people that only meet me in kind of my guy in the blue shirt genre is that most people think I'm kind of pretty outward going or extroverted tendencies. Behaviorally, I'm actually off the charts introverted. So every behavioral test I've ever done, I always come out on the introverted side. So I say to people I'm a behavioral introvert but a highly trained extrovert. So and to me, that's really important to show people that you can be flexible with your skills and be adaptable and adoptable, which is, how we've had to be in 2020 for sure. If I hadn't started doing this last fall, I would have been lost, and the journey this year would have been even tougher than it already has been. So,
Totally 100% agree with that. And that's where I think that this year has been a very good year for growth and development for me, and I think it's been for a lot of people. Those
mm-hmm,
who act, those who actually took the opportunities that were placed before them whenever COVID hit and there was shut down and everything had to uh, adjust and everybody had to figure out what their pivot was and how they were going to move forward. I think those who are ready or prepared to make that transition pretty quickly are the ones who've kind of um, really taken the opportunities to advance themselves, in every possible way, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
financially. Um, and I think that's a great thing to take out of what's happened this whole year and going into next year is
Right.
that guess what? You can still act the same, do a lot of the same things. You just won't have the whole, or hopefully you won't have the whole pandemic thing behind you. Use
Mm-hmm.
that as a driving force to continue to change and grow your life. That's
Right.
pretty important. So, um,
Well,
and
I think new norms have been already kind of set, so I don't actually see it going ever back to the way it was before. There's there's a lot of advantages, even though it's been tough learning and a tough road for pretty much everybody. But the advantages of learning and definitely being more empathetic and more flexible towards not only work but non-work activities as well is super critical. So I hope we don't lose sight of that, and I hope we don't lose it in 2021 and beyond. I think it's actually kind of a much nicer way to live overall. So,
mm, I like that. I like that a lot. So speaking of 2021,
mm-hmm.
do you have any plans, or have you like maybe formulated some kind of game plan or action plan to put into place that will help you continue what you've already started to build on yet, going forward into the next year?
I do, and in fact, I'm a big believer in using very specific, meaningful connections to help. So I'm finishing up working with another Los Angeles or Southern California based connection who I did meet originally linked off in person, even though we met through LinkedIn. And she's actually helping me. Her name's Connie, and she's helping me just really reflect on what I've been doing and what my clarity is. She specializes in clarity assessment, clarity coaching. So she's helping me do some real deep soul searching about what do I want to do more of, what do I want to do less of, what do I want to do some of the same. And the live stream piece is something that I still want to get better at. And I am actually going to be doing a Tuesday evening as well as a Friday evening starting in January next year. And I have most of those spots already filled up. Thank goodness. So if somebody sees this and they would like to be on my live show, if I could give a plug, then they can reach out to me and message me on LinkedIn, and we can see what February or March looks like for them on a Tuesday evening at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, which will be 6:30 Central Time.
Yes. So, guys, if you can see down in the scroll there, I have his LinkedIn address if you would love to connect with Bruce here. And of course,
Yeah.
I'll also drop it in the comments so people can go and um, connect with you. Send a personal message, and if you're interested to have even a not even if you want to go live with him, if you just want to
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation with Bruce. I'll
Right.
also drop your Calendly link into the comments as well, so people can go and connect with you there as well. Because
Okay.
it's always just fun to find new and interesting people out there. So,
Yep.
uh,
Yeah, and what I would also say, Gabe, is that the most fruitful discussions on both sides come from typically entrepreneurs who are pretty high performing themselves, or they have a high performing team working for them. So those are the folks, that entrepreneurs, business owners, high performers, team members or leaders. Those are the types of folks that fit well with the way that I'm sharing my knowledge and the mentoring and coaching that I'm most effective at doing.
So there you go, guys. You can connect with Mr. You can connect with Bruce
Guy in the
on
blue shirt.
the guy in the blue shirt on LinkedIn, guys. And of course, I put the calendar link as well if you would love to connect
Okay.
with him as well. So, Bruce, this is the part of the show where I have asked every guest this question. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pose it to you. There is no right or wrong answer. So here it goes.
All right.
So when the book is said and done on Bruce Carnohan, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Uh-huh. So that's a great question. My passion is always trying to be simpler, faster, and better. So if I had either a headstone or a plaque or a memoriam for something, you know, the guy in the blue shirt is Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better. And the way I do that is I try and get people to get kind of sick and tired of being frustrated or wasting their time or wasting their effort. Or so I'm pretty passionate about people wasting resources, which is
Mm-hmm.
usually time and money, and effort. So those are the resources. So, and on a personal level, I just like to be remembered by, you know, the guy in the blue shirt that did lots of different things and was a okay guy and was helpful, and that's kind of about it, really.
There you go. Like I said, it is a question all about perspective in life. That is all. Um,
Hmm.
so that's why I find it very interesting just to ask um, that question. So because again, it it kind of speaks to everybody's own uniqueness
Hmm.
because no two answers are ever the same. I've done now 200
72. Oh,
actually
200. Yeah.
I've actually done 200 episodes, over 200 episodes, and I've
Right.
never had an answer where it was the same, where somebody
Hmm.
told me the same sort of answer. So that's why I think each time it's just a new learning experience for me to hear how somebody replies to that question and shares their
Right.
own thoughts of it. So, man, thank you so much, Bruce. I appreciate you taking the time to come on here, and I hope that at some point they restore you guys' power.
It's probably going to be the 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 guesstimates are Christmas Eve evening. So
Oh,
yeah, so it's going to be touch or go if we get power back for Christmas Day.
oh my gosh!
So yeah,
Wow.
it'll be lots of candles and lots of discussion with my wife that I don't normally have.
Hey, there you go. That's the way to look at it. That's the silver lining.
Yep. Well,
What's the
she came
silver
up with
lining?
the candles, and I'll come up with the discussion because she's even more introverted than I am at times. So
Yes, and I love that. So, guys, thank you everybody who's been a part of this one, and of course,
yeah.
guys, again, if you want to connect with Bruce, the link is in the comments. Send him a please do me a favor, guys. If you do, um, please send a personalized
Yeah.
comment along
Message.
with that, a message to go along with it. I just telling him that you connected with me here or whatever. I really do appreciate it when people do that. Um,
Hmm.
that way, kind of just lets me know that hey, okay, this connection was something that I saw in here, and I really want to learn about this person. So it's just a great way, of course, and it's a great way to introduce yourself as well. So
Yep.
thank you, Bruce, for coming on the show. Thank you, everybody who's been a part of this one. You guys, you guys are the lifeblood of what I do here, and man, I am grateful every single day that I get the opportunity to come here and share somebody new and share a new conversation every single night with all of you. Um, it's
Hmm.
pretty important. So, just everybody, we will be back here next Monday. So, we're going to be taking the next 2 days off, 24th, 25th. We won't be going live. I'm sorry. we're gonna take the holidays off just like everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. So we're gonna enjoy family time. We're gonna enjoy life. We're just gonna enjoy the spirit of giving and kindness, and everything that it encompasses this time of year. That's always such heartwarming to me. So we will be back here Monday evening, 7:30 Central Standard Time, with our guest, Mr. Daniel Hall. Everybody else, guys, you are beautiful. Stay safe, stay blessed. Have a great, wonderful holiday season. Have a great Christmas, guys. Please,
Yep.
above all, just share a little love. Hug that person that's so important to you, and just remember how much life is such a wonderful thing, and it's beautiful that we get to share it with everybody. So thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody who's been a part of this one. And Bruce, again, sit tight, everybody else. We will be back. You guys have a great Christmas, and man,
Yep.
have a good evening, everybody. Good
Yep.
night.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, Southern California.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.